Filmmaking has changed so much in the last 10 to 15 or 20 years that if you dropped a 2010 director into 2025, he'd genuinely think we are cheating. I mean, people are making science fiction films on a camera you can buy on Amazon, and you can stabilize it on a software. That's kind of black magic for a 2010 director. Yes, it's pretty wild out there. And this video is about that black magic, the explosion of technology in filmmaking in the past 15 to 20 years. And I'm not just talking about cameras or lights, I'm talking about stuff that used to cost hundreds or thousands of dollars and require a team of specialists now fits in your backpack or maybe your pocket. I'm going to discuss every major leap: camera, lighting, VFX, and yes, even AI. Whether you hate it or love it, AI is changing the game. Back in 2015, if you wanted cinema quality, you needed an Arri or Red camera. These things were enormous, crazy expensive, and required a whole crew just to operate. We are talking $50,000 to $100,000 for the body alone. If you were an indie filmmaker, you weren't getting near any of those unless you had a crazy rich uncle. But then something happened. Mirrorless cameras showed up and said, what if we just remove all the necessary stuff? No bulky mirror box, smaller sensors that still looked incredible, and features that used to be exclusive to those massive cinema rigs. Like log recording, 10-bit color, insane dynamic range, all crammed into a $3,000 body. The Panasonic series, the Canon series, the Sony Alpha series, all these were kind of a weapon for an indie filmmaker. And then in 2023, director Gareth Edwards walked onto the set of The Creator, a big budget sci-fi film, and shot the entire thing on a Sony FX3, a camera that cost less than $4,000. This wasn't some gritty indie drama where you can hide the rough edges. This was a blockbuster. They were like spaceships, robots, and the whole, sci-fi deal. And because the camera was so small and lightweight, they didn't need any cranes, dollies, or massive crews. They just ran around and shot it. Over 80 real locations across the world. The budget was just 80 million, but it looked like 200 million because they spent money on what mattered: the story, the effects, and the world building. The camera itself, not the expensive part anymore. And if mirrorless cameras were not enough, smartphones said, hold my charger. In 2015, Sean Baker shot the Tangerine entirely on an iPhone 5s. That is ridiculous. People thought it was a gimmick, but it worked, it looked good, and it proved that the tool doesn't make the filmmaker, the vision does. And nowadays, smartphones like iPhone 17 or whatever the series is going on, they have built-in log recording. In India, director Vishal Bhardwaj shot Fursat, a glossy Bollywood-style musical, entirely on an iPhone 14 Pro. Not as a gimmick, as a choice because the tech was good enough. So the barrier to entry, it is completely gone. If you have a smartphone, congratulations, you have a cinema camera and you can be a filmmaker. Okay, so the technology everyone loves fighting about, AI. Look, AI isn't taking over filmmaking, but it is becoming another tool in the kit, and it is pretty useful. I mean, we are gonna talk about AI in audio editing, in VFX, but let's talk about AI in video generation. Tools like Runway and Pika Labs can generate short video clips from text prompts. Right now, they are mostly used for pre-vis, B-roll, or experimental projects. I mean, the quality isn't right there, but it is improving rapidly. For indie creators and small studios, AI is honestly a game changer. It saves money, cuts down crazy amounts of time, and lets small teams create stuff that used to need huge budgets. Since we are already talking about AI, I think this is the perfect moment to tell you about a project that surprised me in a very good way. So there's an independent film studio called True Brothers Production, and they are working on a massive historical drama that is scheduled to release in fall 2026. And when I say massive, what I mean is the similarity of this project to other Hollywood projects like Dune, Gladiator, and even Game of Thrones when it comes to world building and the production ambition. And the coolest part, this film is being specifically made for Indian audience. It tells the story of Chaitanya, a figure whose life is documented through respected sources, shastras, and well-regarded gurus. The studio's whole approach is to keep the storytelling authentic, respectful, and firmly rooted in history without turning it into something loud or sensational. Now here's why I'm bringing it up in a video about filmmaking. This film is using a new hybrid cinematography technique, real actors plus AI assisted animated environments. Basically, the actors are performing everything for real. The emotions, expressions, physical acting, none of that is touched or improved by AI. The AI is used to generate hyper-realistic backgrounds that recreate the world of 15th, 16th century India. So think of it like this. Instead of building gigantic sets or shooting on locations that don't exist anymore, they are using technology to rebuild that era around real performances. And what I really liked is that the team is very clear about their boundaries. AI is not replacing actors, AI is not modifying the acting, AI is only helping with the environment and atmosphere, the stuff that's otherwise insanely expensive or impossible to recreate. Honestly, it's one of the more interesting uses of AI I have seen. Not taking over the creative part, but supporting it in a way that makes historical filmmaking more accessible. And the key thing to understand is AI is not replacing anyone. It is not replacing creativity. It just removes the friction. It handles the boring or tedious stuff so that the makers or the creators can focus on storytelling, which is more important part. Okay, since we were talking about cameras and you have got a camera, now, how do you shoot a film that doesn't look like a shaky mess? For decades, the answer was Steadicam operator. The Steadicam was revolutionary when it came out in the 70s. It used counterweights and physics to smooth out movement, but it was very hard to use. You needed years of training, serious upper body strength, and a lot of patience. Plus, renting one wasn't cheap. Then gimbals entered the chat. Motorized 3-axis gimbals like the DJI Ronin changed everything. These things use tiny motors and sensors to counteract shake 1,000 times per second. You could get a Hollywood level tracking shot with a $500 gimbal after an afternoon of practice. That floating camera look you see everywhere now, that's basically a gimbal. Music videos, indie films, even the big budget film like The Creator, it's all gimbal. In earlier days, filmmaking used to be about overcoming physics, and nowadays physics is just optional. Alright, this one is a game changer. You know how actors used to stand in front of giant green screens pretending to react to things that weren't even there, and then months later in post-production someone would add the background? Yup, that's over. Virtual production uses massive LED walls that display a 3D environment in real time, powered by game engines like Unreal Engine. As the camera moves, the background shifts with the perfect perspective. It's like the whole set is actually there. But you know what? The LED walls emit light, so if the background is a sunset, that warm orange glow is actually hitting the actor's face. No more cutout look, no more lighting mismatches.
और आज मेरे साथ संजय जी हैं। इनको मैंने ख़ास इधर इसलिए बुलाया है क्योंकि ये साउंड रिकॉर्डिस्ट है और ये हमने फिल्म जो बनाई है ये हमने रखी है सिंग साउंड कि डायलॉग मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ वही आपको थिएटर में सुनाई देगा, ना कि मुझे डबिंग थिएटर में जाके कोई रिकॉर्डिंग करनी है।
For decades, mainstream Indian cinema relied on dubbing. Actors would re-record their lines months after shooting the film, which often made the audio feel disconnected from the visuals. But over the last decade, there's been a massive shift to sync sound, recording clean audio on set. Advances in wireless lavalier mics and digital recorders made this possible even in chaotic environments. And even the way we experience sound in theaters has changed a lot. With Dolby Atmos, sound isn't just left or right anymore, it moves all around you, even from above. Movies like Kantara used this really well, especially in the ritual scenes, where you could literally feel the sound in the theater. So where is all this going? I think by 2030 or 2035, we'll probably see a full-length feature film where half the visuals are AI generated, not replacing actors, but creating a synthetic environment, or impossible shots that would be too dangerous or expensive to shoot practically. We might also see volumetric cinema where users can experience a scene in a VR, like walking around the set while the story unfolds around them. I think with the growing technology, big spectacle films will get even bigger. They'll compete globally, but culturally specific films like Homebound, Manjumal Boys or Kantara, they will also thrive because I don't think AI can replicate soul. The tools will keep evolving, but the stories, those still comes from us. Technology is kind of the vessel, but you are the filmmaker. So maybe if you are thinking to create something, go make something incredible, and I'll see you in the next video.